Now, let us begin our class with Brahmanad. Om. Om. Shanti. 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 Swastha. Good morning, children. In our previous class, we discussed about the Inchcape rock. What do you mean by the Inchcape rock? It is the rock which is situated off the east coast of Scotland near the mouth of river Tay. It was considered as a perilous rock. Why is it considered a perilous rock? Perilous, you know, perilous means dangerous. Peril, P-E-R-I-L, peril means danger, and perilous, P-E-R-I-L-O-U-S, perilous means dangerous. Why was this rock called a perilous rock? Because only a few inches of the rock was seen above the surface of sea water when there was no storm in the sea or when the sea was calm. Only a few inches of the rock was visible to the mariners. But when there was a high tide or when the sea was rough, the rock was completely submerged in the sea water and nothing was visible. So the mariners, while returning from sea to the shore of Scotland, met with fatal accidents as their ships collided against the rock. But when the sea was calm, only a few inches above the surface of the sea water was visible to the mariners. As a result, they avoided to sail their ships through that rock in order to avoid any collision or any crash or accident. Clear? Here in this poem, we find two characters. And what are they? They are one protagonist and another is an antagonist. Here Sir Ralph the Rover was an antagonist because he wanted to bring some harm to others. In fact, he was the villain of this poem. And Sir Ralph the Rover was also at the same time a sea pirate. He attacked the ships of others in the sea and looted their property. On the other hand, Abbot of Aberbrothock was the protagonist. He wanted to do some noble work, some noble deed, or some welfare work for the people of the society. He always thought of good. He always thought to do something good to others. So he was the protagonist. So what did he do? He placed Abbot of Aberbrothock placed a bell on a floating object known as a buoy. And when there was a high tide in the sea and the rock was completely submerged in the sea water, The waves of the sea made that float, made that boy swing here and there. And the bell that was kept or placed on the boy produced a warning sound. And it made the mariners not to sail their ships through that route in order to avoid the collision. This was what we discussed in our previous class. Now let us go through Unit 2 of the poem The Inchcape Rock. The sun in heaven was shining gay. All things were joyful on that day. The seabirds screamed as they wheeled round, and there was joyance in their sound. The boy of the Inchcape bell was seen, a darker speck on the ocean green. Shah round the rover walked his day, and he fixed his eye on the darker speck. He felt the cheering power of spring. It made him whistle, it made him sing. His heart was mirthful to excess, but the rover's mirth was wickedness. His eye was on the Inchcape float. Quoth he, my man, put out the boat and row me to the Inchcape rock, and I will plague the abode of Brothok. The boat is lowered, the boatmen row, and to the Inchcape rock they go. Shah Ralph bent over from the boat, and he caught the bell from the Inchcape float. Down sank the bell with a gurgling sound. The bubbles rose and brushed around. Quoth Shah Ralph, the next who comes to the rock won't bless the abode of Brothok. As I have already said to you, Shah Ralph the rover was a wicked person. Those who are wicked people, they never think of doing good to others. They cannot tolerate if others start praising about other people. How could he tolerate when his own sailors started praising the work of Brothok? So, here Shah Ralph the rover was a wicked man, wanted to cause pain to others. Here, how a wicked person like Shah Ralph the rover does mischief out of malice. Malice means, remember, it is a very good word. Malice means desire to harm others. And he desired to do harm to Shah Ralph, not Shah Ralph the rover, but abode of Brothok. He desired to do harm to the abode of Brothok. As you were already said, he set out on his voyage on a pleasant day. The weather was fine. The sun was shining in the sky. There was no sign of any storm. Wind was blowing gently, and the seabirds were also enjoying their lives. The sun in heaven, here the sun in the sky, was shining gay. Here gay means bright. Gay means also happy. Gay has also other meanings. But here gay means bright. On the day when he set out his voyage, the sun was shining brightly in the sky. The sun in heaven was shining gay. All things were joyful on that day. All things, all inanimate and animate were found enjoying. Of course, inanimates cannot enjoy, but animates can enjoy, and they were enjoying their lives as the day was very fine. It was a very nice day. So, the animates were also enjoying their lives. All things were joyful on that day, and things all around seemed very beautiful. The sun in heaven was shining gay. All things were joyful on that day. The seabirds, how did the seabirds express their joy? The seabirds screamed. Here it is written, screamed means made veritable sounds or made various sounds. The seabirds also enjoyed their lives as the day was very fine. The seabirds screamed as they wheeled. Wheeled means here flying round and around. Fly, flew, flown. While flying round and round over the sea, the seabirds also made veritable noise or various sounds. The seabirds screamed as they wheeled round, and there was joyance in their sound. In their sound, in the sound of the birds, one could understand how happy they were. That means there was joyance. One could find joy in the screaming sounds of the birds. So, what does the first stanza of this unit reveal to us? The first stanza of this unit reveals that Shah the rover was a sea pirate, set out on a voyage on a fine day. On that day, the weather was nice, the sun was shining brightly in the sky, and everything seemed very beautiful. And things were joyful on that day. And the seabirds made various sounds while flying over the sea. And one could also understand that how happy the birds were when they heard the veritable noise made by the seabirds. That means there was joyance in their sound. The boy of the Inchcape well was seen, and the day was fine. One could see a few inches of the rock just above the sea water, the surface of sea water. Only the Inchcape rock was totally covered by sea water when the sea was rough or when there was storm in the sea. But when the weather was fine, a few inches of the rock was visible. The buoy of the Inchcape bell was seen. So while sailing the ship in the sea, Shah the rover and his sailors could see the Inchcape well that was placed on a floating object. Here, boy, a float or a floating object, and a bell was placed on that boy in order to produce a warning sound when the rock was completely submerged in the sea water. The boy of the Inchcape bell was seen, a darker speck on the ocean green. Here, speck means a very small spot. And how did it seem? How did the Inchcape bell see from a distance? Or how did it seem to the mariners from a distance? It seemed as if a darker spot. Here, speck means a very small spot. That Inchcape bell, which was placed on the boy, seemed a darker speck on the ocean green. See, when we see the ocean or the sea from a distance, it seems to us green or it seems to us blue. See, distant things, when we see them, they seem to us blue. Do you know why? Because air has a substance that transfers the distant things look green. That is the reason when we look at the sky, it seems us blue, but the actual color of sky is not blue. Similarly, when we see the distant hills, they seem also us to blue, but they are not blue in color, because air has a substance that transfers the distant things to look blue. Only for rhyming purpose, here it is written green, ocean green. When we see the sea through air, it seems as blue, but when we go near to the ocean or sea, what do we find? We find no, the color of the ocean is not blue or green. It's bright, isn't it? So what have you understood? Air has a substance that changes it into blue when we see that thing through the air. So how did that Inchcape bell seem to the mariners? That Inchcape bell seemed like a darker spot. Here speck means spot on the ocean green. Charles the rover walked his deck. Deck, the floor of the ship is called deck, and you have also come across this word when you went through the first lesson, that is standing up for yourself. Red was walking up and down the street like a seaman on his deck. There also you were told the meaning of the word deck. And what does deck mean? Deck means floor of the ship. He was walking. Here that antagonist, Charles the rover, was walking on his deck. He was also enjoying his life as the day was very fine. And he fixed his eye on the darker speck. While walking on the deck of his ship, he could also see that darker spot on the ocean green. And when he saw that darker spot on the ocean green, he started fixing his eyes on that darker spot, on that darker speck. So what did he do? While walking on his deck of the ship, while walking on the deck of his ship, he could see that darker speck, and he fixed his eyes on that darker speck. He was a wicked man, and he wanted to do some evil things towards the others. Good men always think to do good to others, but those who are wicked, they only think how to do evil things to others. He was a wicked man. How could he think of doing good to others? So, though everything was beautiful, the day was fine, he was also enjoying his life. But at the same time, he was thinking how to do some harm to others. He felt that cheering power of spring. It was the spring season when he was sailing his sea on the ocean green. Of course, he did not have any particular destination to go. He was a wicked man. And why had he set out on a voyage? He had set out on a voyage only to plunder others' ships and loot the property. That was his intention. But he did not have any particular place to go when he set out on a voyage. He was a sea pirate, and his job was to attack the ships of others and loot their property. That fine day did not have any good impact on that antagonist, Shah the rover. That fine day could not change the mind of that antagonist, Shah the rover. He felt the cheering power of spring. Here, cheering means pleasant, pleasant of spring, power of spring. It made him whistle, it made him sing. His heart was mirthful. Mirthful means joyful or full of joy. To excess, excess means plenty. But the rover's mirth means joy, was wickedness. See, how could he express his joy on that fine day? He also felt, here he refers to Shah the rover, also felt that pleasant power, cheering power of the spring season. And that cheering power of the spring season made him whistle, made him sing. When do we sing? When do we whistle? When we feel ourselves very delighted, or to express our joy, sometimes what do? We sing. And when we are in sorrowful mood, we will not be able to sing. See, that power, that cheering power, that pleasant power of spring made him sing and made him whistle. But his joy had some opposite impact. And what was that? To do harm to others. His heart was also joyful. His heart was mirthful, full of joy. See, good people feel very joy when they do good to others. And do you know, when do wicked people feel joy? When they do some harm to others, they feel joy. So his heart was full of joy to excess. But his joy, his heart was wickedness, foolishness, because he wanted to do harm others. And wicked people get joy or mirth while doing what? While doing harm to others. Now let us come to the third stanza. His eye was on that Inchcape float. His eye, as he had fixed, his eye on that darker speck. His eye was on that Inchcape float, that buoy on which a bell was placed. His eye was on the Inchcape float. Quoth he, my man, put out the boat. Quoth means said. Quoth. Quoth means said. He said. Here who said? Sir Ralph the rover said. To whom did he say? He said to his own sailors. What did he say? To his own sailors. Here my men means sailors. My men means sailors or mariners. He said to his sailors or to his mariners. What did he say to his mariners? He said to his mariners to put out the boat from the ship, because he wanted to go to that darker speck. Clear? So he ordered, or he said to his sailors or to his mariners to put out the boat. Here put out is not used as a phrasal form. As you know, as a phrasal verb, it means extinguish, put out the fire. Put out the fire. But here put out means to take the boat out of the ship. Because he had to go to the rock. Because the bell was tied to the rock, to that Inchcape rock. And a boat could easily go there. So he wanted to go to that darker space through a boat. That was the reason why he said to his sailors to take out or to put out the boat and row me to the Inchcape rock. At the same time, he said to the sailors to row him to that Inchcape rock. You know, ships sail, but boats row, R-O-W, row. When we go forward with the help of a boat on the surface of water while flapping the oar, that is called row. And remember, a boat rows, but a ship sails. Ships sail, boats row. And what was his order to his sailors? He ordered his sailors to row him to that Inchcape rock, because a bell was kept on a float, and the float was tied to the Inchcape rock. As a result, it floated even if there was high tide in the sea and produced a sound which alerted the sailors not to sail their ships through that rock in order to avoid the collision. See, he did not go through his ship. He said to his mariners to put out the boat. A boat can go to the rock without any danger. If the ship will sail to that rock, it may collide and break into pieces. So he did not go to the rock through his ship, but he said to his sailors to put out the boat and row him to the Inchcape rock. And I will plague the abbot of Aberbrothock. I will plague. He wanted to damage the disrepute, the good name and good fame of the abbot of Aberbrothock. The abbot was a good man. He was a noble man. He did a noble job. And what noble job did he do? He placed a bell, a huge bell on a floating object. And that floating object was tied to that Inchcape rock. So, the high waves of the sea could not move the float, but produced a warning sound for the sailors not to sail their ships through the rock. I will plague. He wanted to damage. Here plague is also a disease usually caused by the bite of rats. But here, plague is used as a verb. It is not used as a noun. As a noun, it is a disease. But as a verb, it means to damage or disrepute. What? Good name and fame of the abode of Abhobrotak. See, where did his joy lie? His joy lay to bring some harm to whom? To the priest, to the abbot. Abbot, you know, I have already said to you, head of a monastery. Head of a monastery. Abbot of Abhobrotak. His order was obeyed. The sailors listened what they were said by their leader. And who was their leader? Sharal the rover was their leader. The boat was lowered. The boatman rowed. As the sailors were said to put out the boat was taken out of the sea. And Sharal the rover was rowed to that Inchcape rock. The boat is lowered, the boatmen row, and to the Inchcape rock they go. Where did they row? To Sharal the rover, they rowed him to the Inchcape rock. Or where did they go? They went to the Inchcape rock. Here that means the sailors and Sharal the rover. The boat is lowered, the boatmen row, and to the Inchcape rock they go. Sharal bent over from the boat, and when they reached near that darker speck, what did Sharal the rover do? He bent. Bent is the past tense of bend. Lowered down, bent. He bent over from the boat. Why did he bent, B-E-N-D, bent over from the boat? Because he wanted to cut the bell from the Inchcape float. So by bending over from the boat, Sharal the rover, here he refers to Sharal the rover, he caught. And what did he caught? He caught the bell. Here bell refers to that Inchcape bell. Why is it called Inchcape bell? Because a huge bell was kept on a buoy, and the buoy was tied to that Inchcape rock. That was the reason why the bell is called here Inchcape bell. He caught the bell from the Inchcape bell. So after reaching to that darker speck, what did Sharal the rover do? Sharal the rover, after reaching to that darker speck, he caught the bell from that Inchcape float, from that buoy, Inchcape float. Down sung the bell with a gargling sound. When the bell was caught from the Inchcape float, it was sung down. Sink, sank, sunk. The past participle form of sink is sunk. Sink, past tense of sink is sank, S-A-N-K. And past participle form of sink is sung. Down sung the bell. When the bell was caught from the Inchcape float, what happened to that bell? The bell sunk down. And you know, inanimate objects, when go deeper and deeper into water, we say sink. But with the animates, when we go deeper and deeper and lose our lives, we drown. D-R-O-W-N, drown. And remember the difference between sink and drown. Inanimate objects sink, whereas animates drown. So down sunk the bell. After the bell was caught from the Inchcape float, it sank down and produced a gargling sound. The air which was inside the bell made gargling sound when it went deeper and deeper into the water. Down sunk the bell with a gargling sound. Here gargling is also written. Sound usually produced when water rushes to an empty vessel or empty pot or anything. So down sunk the bell with a gargling sound. The bubbles, bubbles of water, bubbles rose in the past tense of rise. It produced when the well sunk, it produced gargling sound. At the same time, bubbles could be seen on the surface of the sea water. The bubbles rose and mixed, brushed around. The bubbles also brushed around the sea water. Quoth Sir Ralph. As you know, quoth means said. Sir Ralph the rover said, the next who comes to the rock, the next person, the next sailor who comes to the rock or to this place, won't means will not, bless. Bless means what? Praise or appreciate the abode of whoever brothok. See, he wanted to disrepute or he wanted to damage the good name and fame of that abode of ever brothok. See, he had not tied, abode of ever brothok had not tied to save his own life. He had tied or he had placed a bell on a floating object which was tied to the Inchcape rock only to save the lives and property of the sailors. He was not doing, he had not done that job for saving his own life and his own property. He had done that job for the sake of others. He was not selfish, but this man could not tolerate when his own sailors started praising the work of the abode of ever brothok. He was burning inside and wanted to do some harm to the abode of ever brothok. See, wicked people get themselves delighted when they do harm to others. And when good people do some harm to others, they feel very sad. But bad people, wicked people get themselves delighted when they do some harm to others. So, by spoiling the good name of the abode or the abode of ever brothok, he got inner joy. He was delighted that fine day, that fine weather, where everything seemed joyful. The seabirds were enjoying their lives, and everything was very beautiful. He himself was enjoying his life, but his joy lay where? His joy lay when he did something wrong or some bad to others. And when he plagued, or when he, how did he plague? How did he damage the good name and fame of the abode of ever brothok? By cutting the bell from the Inchcape bell, and thought, whoever comes next will not praise, will not bless the work of abode of ever brothok. Now, let me ask you one or two questions. How was the weather when he set out? He means here, Sir Ralph the rover set out on a voyage. When Sir Ralph the rover set out on a voyage, the weather was fining. The weather was very fine as the sun was shining brightly in the sky and everything seemed very beautiful, and the birds, sea birds were also flying round and round over the sea water in order to enjoy their own lives. How could Sir Ralph the Rover see that Inchcape bell while walking on his deck? Sir Ralph the Rover could see a darker spot on the ocean green, and he was told that darker speck was the Inchcape bell, which was placed on a floating object, and it produced a warning sound when there was a high tide or a storm in the sea to save the lives and property of the sailors. In our next class, we will go through Unit 3 of this poem, The Inchcape Rock.